Hello,
Hi.
Matija.
Hi.
How are
So
you?
I had a rehearsal until now. So now
No,
I'm in cantina of Gärtnerplatz Theater. We are rehearsing Barbiere di Sevilla, the new production.
yeah.
Yeah.
So wonderful. It's so lovely to see you again.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely
After,
to see you. How are you
yeah,
doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I've been seeing you've been again in quarantine, and now how was it now? Or is it still, are you still there all the time?
I was I had COVID actually just in the end of March and beginning of April. Yeah. My whole family, we had COVID, but me and my son got really mild symptoms. I had just fever, some back aches and stuff like that. My wife had a bit more severe variant, but she thankfully she didn't have to go to hospital or nothing. But yeah, but so a week ago I went to visit them in Croatia, and now it's a bit easier because we have a right to go back and forth since we have a document that we had it. We have a Genesene Bestätigung.
Oh, okay.
Now it's a bit easier in Germany. I don't have to go to this 5-day quarantine anymore.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So that's, I mean, that's not good that you had it, but at least then now it's a bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully we didn't have any kind of respiratory
Yes.
after effect. My wife had some heart problems with a heart tremor, but she's solving now those things with some medication, and it will. I mean, it's a really, this COVID is really messed up because the range of severity of symptoms is enormous. Some people just have like a mild cold. I have a vertigo for 2-3 days. It's like every step was a kind of very fuzzy for me, and I had a severe back pain for 2-3 days, and coffee. Of all the things, coffee tasted really bad.
Really?
Yeah, but now I'm kind of I'm replacing all the coffee that I didn't drink.
That's good. Yeah. No, coffee is the one thing that
it's just not fair.
no.
It's just not fair. Yeah, so I came back to Munich right after my COVID, 2 weeks after I got better, and I started immediately working on Onegin. Originally, it was supposed to be Giovanni, but because of the complexity of the regie and how it would be very difficult to replace the regie or redo it, they decided to do Onegin, which we actually mounted the whole production with COVID rules in September and October. So we had a production that was completely COVID ready. And tomorrow I have the third performance of that. And in the meantime, we started the new production of Barbiere di Sevilla.
Oh, okay. But now with the Onegin, how did they change, or what did they change to make the production?
Well, we originally started doing that production, I think, in June or July last year. So it was built by our director, Ben Bauer. It was built with COVID rules in mind. So Onegin and Tatiana, we never touch hands. We do like this. We dance, not really holding hands. There is no hugging. There is no kissing. There is no. We do everything with 1 meter or 1.5 meter Abstand between us. The choir is reduced, and also they ordered a reduced version of orchestra score, which was done by a Russian composer. I'm not really sure what the name is, but I know he did an awesome job because it sounds really good. So orchestra is also playing in a reduced setting, and yeah, I mean, it's like a normal show, just there is no physical contact. But however, we replaced it with some other effects, like, you know, giving a flower or throwing flowers to someone, or, you know, stuff like that, that functions really well on stage, but it avoids physical contact.
So it's not if you see it, you will not necessarily get that it's
No,
that it's
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we had our premiere in October, and if I remember correctly, you know, everybody said that the critics said that the production functions really well, although there are some things that are reduced. But all the, you know, there is a choir on stage, there are extras, there are dancers, there, you know, all the roles are on stage. So there is, it's not as if it was already a very rich production that was just scrapped, you know, and very reduced, like some opera houses do. So this was like a new production specially built for COVID circumstances.
So do you feel that when you play now these roles, and so say there's, for example, you had to kiss or you had to hold somebody or the character, then now of course you cannot do that. So do you think for you also there's a different way you play this, or there's a different emotion with this, because it's not that contact?
Well, the particular productions that I played, like Onegin, or now we are building the new Barbiere production, which will be built from stage side completely differently. It will be built for contact, but there are some measures, other measures. It means we have to get tested 3 times a week. And there are a couple of people in the whole ensemble that had COVID, or some that they are already, how do you say, geimpft?
Yeah, vaccinated.
Already vaccinated, sorry. I personally don't feel any stress about it. If I was to play Don Giovanni, where per performance I have to kiss 5 different women, I will not be so relaxed. But I would prefer, you know, if you know, circumstances are different. But I don't personally, when I sing Onegin, and Onegin as a character has a huge emotional arc that he goes through, from being very arrogant and you know, looking from above to people, to being basically a kneeling pile of begging goo in the end. I don't feel that I play it or feel it any differently than I would do it normally. The only thing is that, you know, I don't really touch Tatiana at any moment, but it's not even, I don't think it's even necessary. I also played King in Die Kluge from Orff in a kind of changed stage version, but it didn't really, you know, it didn't really make me play it, feel it, or sing it much differently. Honestly, it's like driving your car on a normal street, 2-way street, or driving your car on the autobahn. Of course, the spacing is different, and you can take different speeds, but you are still using clutch and gas and brake, you know, and steering wheel. So for me, it's the same thing. And the way how they build the whole circumstances is to allow us to do our job and our craft the best we can, you know. So theater basically had to change circumstances around us so we can do what we do best. And that's what people actually pay tickets to come and see. And also what is really amazing to see is how people rush to buy tickets for our performances, which is completely I was completely amazed. But I actually, after the first performance on Onegin, which was on the Friday, the 14th of May, it was the first performance with live audience since November the 1st to 2020, which was Onegin. So we closed the theater for the audience with Onegin and open it with Onegin. And it was, it was very emotional. It was kind of, I had a sense of relief to perform in front of the audience again. And, you know, there's this symbiosis that we live in as performers with the audience is such a beautiful thing. And I hope we will learn to, you know, really respect it and be very thankful for it. So already we are giving different musicals, ballet, couple of different operas. There is Mahler Fourth Symphony coming up. So, and we are building new productions, so it kind of feels as a completely normal season now.
But when you were, say, before a performance, you hear the audience when you're backstage, you hear the audience, and then of course now in the COVID time it was not possible, or it was live streaming, so there was no audience. Could you feel this excitement when you suddenly realized, hey, but there's an audience tonight? Did it get to you then that this is
it's during the performance you feel, you know, a bit differently because you feel some kind of feedback. But to be honest, it didn't really change my way of preparation to sing in the empty theater without the audience or in the full theater with the audience. Quite honestly, because the things I did in live stream settings were so in a live stream concert I did Prologo di Pagliacci, I did some Rossini stuff, I did parts of Rigoletto and something else, I can't remember. But the task before me was difficult enough that it different styles and really you know, and also all my colleagues that performed with me are, you know, really high level singers and high level performers. So to perform with them, because we were acting some scenes or some duets or sextet from, I think, the first act finale from Barbiere, you have to be on your game, no matter if the audience is there or not. So I had to prepare mentally, I had to sleep good, I had to eat good, I had to be relaxed, I had to warm up, I had to stretch, and I had to be, you know, on my game to perform with my colleagues, with or without the audience.
Yeah.
And also now I performed Onegin, which is a title part that goes through an enormous change, as I said earlier, in his character. So the demand of performing that part with or without the audience for me was pretty much the same, because I had to, even without the audience in a live stream setting, I have to be able to go from point A to point Z in one take, creating, you know, one big arc of the character. So for me, being without the audience or with the audience didn't really change how I prepare.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I understand.
It's like if you have to run a marathon, it doesn't really make difference if the audience is, you like to have people who cheer for you, you know, on a kilometer number, you know, I don't know, 20, when you're kind of, you know, getting tired a little bit halfway there, you know, you like to hear the audience cheering, but you have to be able to run 42 kilometers with or without the audience. It helps, of course it helps when you hear the applause, when, you know, afterwards, after the first performance, I got a couple of Facebook messages from people I personally don't know, who said, oh my God, it was so nice to see you after 8 months. It was a great emotional experience for us. So the audience members were writing us really nice messages, and I couldn't wait to write them back and to thank them for their support. So I think during the performance and after the performance, I felt the difference, but not in preparation.
Okay, but this is something now that I realized also when I took, this is something completely different, but you've got this wonderful way of explaining things by using sort of comparisons. Did you know that you do that?
Well,
that's so wonderful. You did it also in the first interview I did with you, and I realized it now again. Yeah. It's
well,
your way
because
of explaining. It's so wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Slavic mixed with Mediterranean, so we tend to be very loud and very descriptive.
Oh, okay.
But I think, a lot of times, because we actually as singers, we don't see our instrument. Yeah. We see only lips and jaw. So you have to imagine a lot of things. And when somebody says, can you open the head resonators a bit more?
Yeah.
Physically, you cannot really open the resonators. You can maybe fill them with more air or use the resonance more. Or, we talk a lot about colors and meaning and subtext and intention. So I think that probably in my technical building up my instrument and building up my craft, that probably my teachers and I had to use for myself a lot of descriptive, metaphorical things. So maybe I tend to think that way.
That's wonderful. Really, that's a very great quality you have.
Thank you. And people also, the thing about especially singers that I discovered is that people really very often think of us as some kind of creeps, some kind of crazy people who do this magical thing and who are very hysterical and very, secluded or whatever. And it's not always like that. I don't say we are not completely like that, but it's not always like that. So we are very, I think, similar to athletes, because athletes have to prepare their body and prepare their craft. So when they are on the field or on the track or whatever they are doing, they don't think about those mechanical things. Basketball player doesn't look really at the ball and every bounce of the ball he does. So he has to do that enough times so that becomes automatical. So it's also like that. And people have, everybody who's performing, I think dancers or also people in TV, people in sports, they all have this kind of ritual or some kind of groove they get into before they perform. And basically, I'm not sure if for sports people, I don't think there is a much difference if the arena is full or if the arena is empty. It's a different feeling once you start, but your preparation has to be the same.
The same, yeah. But did you now, and you were now ill as well and so on, but did you, when you start, when you came back and or prepared, could you feel physically different? Or was it easy for you to get back into?
It was. I cannot say it was hard. It wasn't hard, but I felt that I need some kind of steady climb. I needed like 2 weeks of getting there, especially for a role like Onegin, which I cannot say it's so vocally demanding as Onegin as a character, and also vocally has an enormous crescendo from the beginning till the end. Because in the first act, he sings very little. He sings a small quartet and a little aria in the beginning of the first act. Then in the second act, it's mostly about Lenski and they fight a bit. But then when the third act comes, after he kills Lenski in duet, then he really starts to sing. And then in the final famous scene with Tatiana, he really kind of sings his heart out. So I needed kind of 2 weeks, kind of building up the stamina and building up. I think it was more a concentration to always be aware what I'm doing. not go full throttle in.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be different if there was no COVID and I was on the coast for 2 weeks. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah. For this part I'm doing now, Barbiere di Siviglia, that's another thing. It's such a high part for a baritone that I need, like, do you know how Olympians, when they, or people in sports, when they're preparing for some big competition, they go into the mountains for 2-3 weeks?
Yeah.
To get their oxygen level, you know, to get their cells more susceptible to oxygen. Yeah, that's what I need with Barbiere di Siviglia. With Figaro, I need I need this kind of 2 months of doing that only.
You need to go to the mountains,
I need to, mentally and physically, I need to go to the mountains and prepare myself for this, because it's such a high role.
Oh, okay. But and when is this? When do they? When do you perform this now?
Barbiere, we rehearse the whole June, and I think on July 8th is the premiere.
Oh, okay. So it's
and
also...
then we'll perform a couple of performances until our summer break, and then I think in October we'll go back into that production, doing that.
Listen, Matija, is there some? What do you do before a performance? Do you have a habit that you do before a performance?
Yes, of course, it depends on the role. For some roles, I don't really need to. I mean, I need to prepare, but I don't really need to be, you know, a Zen master. But before some title roles that I do, like Onegin or Barbiere, or Giovanni, or what else did I do that I needed a really big preparation? Oh, Danton, in Danton's Tod. I tend to speak less that day, which, when you have 2.5-year-old son who has question every 2 seconds, it's not that easy. But I tend to kind of speak softer with him, because I cannot avoid to speak, but I can kind of speak softer and spare my voice off the edge.
Does he then also speak softer?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't care. What he cares is that we do what we do, and he will sometimes let me sleep a bit more. But that's mainly thanks to my wife. Not. I tend to, on the day of the performance, I tend to drink a lot of liquids. I tend to avoid too spicy food, and I'm a type that eats before the performance and try to avoid eating after the performance.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people. I just started a podcast with my baritone friend, Croatian baritone Grga Peroš, and we interviewed a couple of Croatian artists and what is their pre-game meal, as we say in sports terms. What is the pre-game meal? And
what is your pre-game meal?
Oh, I tend to eat like a big bowl of salad with meat or a piece of fish. I like that kind of combination. I try to avoid carbs because they make me, after eating a bowl of pasta or rice, I have to invest so much more energy on stage to move. But I tend to eat some big salad or that kind of meal. But there are a lot of performers who really don't eat for hours and hours before the performance. I'm not that way. And also I tend to come to the theater pretty early, like 2 hours before the performance, usually an hour and a half before I have a makeup call. And the time before I used to stretch, to do some yoga poses, to do some stretching, especially my lower back and neck and shoulders. I tend to stretch that a lot, and just to have some quiet time.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I need to get, really myself really calm. And then when the performance starts, I need to get myself really hyped up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I tend to be like, I say, I'm in a screensaver mode, on computer. Okay. I'm saving power the whole day. And then when the performance starts, sometimes I even, during the parts when I'm not on stage, I tend to roam around the theater, go to here, go to there, I tend to walk a lot.
Yeah. But then if people then start talking to you, or are you just then in the zone and you don't react much?
No. I interact with people. I'm not for the roles I'm doing now, I'm not very, secluded. Maybe next year I have 2 big debuts, which are in front of me for the roles that are, I think, will demand me to be in kind of a bubble for a day or 2. But yeah, I still don't know how will that be. I will have to find out myself.
Yeah. But maybe we can talk about that then again later.
I would love to.
But yeah, I wish you a very lovely afternoon. Are you going to take a bit of a break now because the sun is shining? Hopefully there as
well. Today we will probably go outside with my son to play in a park a bit. Tomorrow morning too, and then tomorrow after lunch I will go into my Zen mode to prepare for Onegin. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, wonderful. But enjoy the lovely family time outside.
I will.
With your son. And it was so lovely to talk to you again.
It was lovely to see you. And thank you for doing all this work and for shining a light really on performers and artists. It has meant a lot, I'm sure, to a lot of people.
So much. It means a lot to me as well, if you say that. But it's a pleasure to do that, and I learned so much from you, and it's so all the people I talk to are so lovely. So it's wonderful, and I just hope that in this way we can, like you say, put some spotlight on what everybody's doing and why they do it, and that people can understand this a little bit better.
Yeah. Hopefully the sun will shine again.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. But yeah, speak to you soon again, hopefully. And
thank you.
From tomorrow.
Thank you. All the best. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.